Buddy. My name is Felika Ahostin Bryant. I'm the director of the Native American Educational and Culture Center at Purdue University. And I am pleased to bring you this segment of our Throwback Thursday chats. We're visiting today with Dr. Chelsea Hamilton, who is a Purdue alum, and we're very fortunate to have her. She's joining us from Iowa today. Chelsea had received her bachelor's degree in animal science in 2011, and she continued on at Purdue to receive her doctorate of veterinary medicine, DVM, from the vet school in 2015. She's originally from Greensburg, Indiana, and Chelsea was one of our frequent visitors to the center. So I really appreciate Chelsea joining us and spending some time with us to share her memories of being at Purdue. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start off and just ask Chelsea just to go ahead and share her pathway to Purdue.
Sure. So as Felika mentioned, I'm a veterinarian, and that was my lifelong dream ever since I was in 5th grade. So there was really no other option for me besides Purdue because they had the vet school. It was in state. It was close enough to home, but still far enough away that mom and dad usually didn't make an unannounced visit. And it was the perfect fit for me. They had an animal science program, which was the best pathway for me into hopefully at that time, I hoped to get into vet school. I didn't really have a backup plan. So thank goodness it all worked out, but Purdue that was really my one and only.
Excellent. And so you were one of the unique students in that you received both your bachelor's and your undergraduate degree. So how many years were you at Purdue?
8 total.
8 total. Okay.
8 total. Yeah.
Okay. And so within those 8 years, share your favorite Purdue experience with us.
I was trying to think of this, and I mean, there's so many. Now that I'm, 10 years out of undergrad and almost 7 years out of vet school, which seems, I don't know where the time goes. There's so many traditions and happenings on campus, even when I was in can almost seem like confined to the vet school walls for 24 hours a day sometimes. But I really loved the sports at Purdue, whether it was women's volleyball or football games, basketball games. Just the energy on campus surrounding sports is great. And then I also did, I think, a year or 2 of intramurals, so that was cool too. Just
okay, good.
Because I'm a big golfer, and when I went to college, I could have probably played golf, but I wanted to focus on my vet school, on getting into vet school. So intramurals kind of gave me the 2-for-1. So I was able to still play myself in a competitive nature, but not as competitive as, playing against other schools for Purdue. But I don't know. I just loved the Den Pop, and I hear now that the Den is not where it used to be. I've heard that if I went back, if I went back to campus, that I probably wouldn't recognize that area. But it's just, and your friends are all there. It's just college in general. I think back multiple times and say, man, I miss college. Now I have to pay all the bills.
Exactly. That was before you really had to start adulting, right?
Yeah. I had bills, but nothing like today.
Well, one thing where we were located, I know as a vet school student, you were primarily on the south side of campus, close to Harrison Street, and that's where our old center used to be, our NAECC, and that is completely gone. They have expanded the vet school, so where you would come and visit us, it's now a new addition. It's going to be a new addition to the vet school. In addition to that, there are a number of new residential halls. They've changed the traffic pattern on some of the roads, and they've expanded State Street. So it really has grown, and you'll see a mixture of the old buildings, the old brick buildings, as well as a lot of more of the modern buildings. But regardless, I'm sure you'll still see glimpses of your Purdue buildings, the favorite buildings that you would often attend to. So with that in mind, while you were there, maybe you can talk about what was your favorite class, or maybe your least favorite class, and how you were able to overcome the challenges of it being your least favorite class.
I can answer both.
Mhm.
So I loved my animal science classes just because my nature is to love anything with four legs, and I now own a three-legged dog, so now I love everything with three legs too.
Uh-huh.
But one of my favorite classes in undergrad was my last semester. I knew that I had gotten into vet school, and I felt like I deserved to reward myself with a class that I didn't really have to use a lot of my brain in. So
Mhm.
I took the plant care and flower arranging class,
Oh,
and
okay.
I
Mhm.
loved that class. It was virtually no stress. I also love to garden. That's one of my hobbies. So
Mhm.
I like to say it benefits me even now. And then one of our projects in that class was to pick a house plant and keep it alive for the whole semester.
Mhm.
And if it died, we had to write an obituary for it. Well, I'm proud
Oh,
to
no.
say that even after 10 years, mine is still living.
Mhm.
It sits in my dining room, and people still ask about it. And I love to tell the story that I got it my senior year of college, and there it still stands. So that was a fun undergrad class. And then vet school, vet school is just different. Any type of graduate or post bachelor's education is the mindset is different. It was hard for me to go to vet school, and um, I totally had to like change the way I studied, change the
Mhm.
degree to which I studied, and had to kind of accept a new normal. So some of the vet school classes were just hard in their own right. They're hard for everybody.
Mhm.
But one thing I liked about vet school that I felt like I got more of there than in undergrad was just we had more people taking the same class, and you're taking all the same classes. So when it's hard for everybody, but when it's good for everybody. So it's kind of we commiserated together, and then we
Mhm.
celebrated together. And I now I know we'll probably get into this a little bit, but I with my current position, I do a little bit of teaching at the vet school at Iowa State.
Mhm.
And just like it just causes me to reminisce on that, even back to my undergrad days of the people that I had multiple classes with, and you just kind of form a band of friends and you stick together through thick and thin.
Mhm.
And I just sometimes you have that in the real world in the working life, and sometimes you don't, but it's really it's a cool thing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good to know that you still carry on some of those friendships. And just a quick question back to your plant. Um, you had that plant since you said you graduated from in your senior year. Have you been able to propagate it and grow more, or how's that working?
So I actually haven't ever tried to propagate it, but I should. But it's a
Mhm.
Norfolk pine, and
Mhm.
if you prune them, or I have never done this either, this is what you just read about them. If you prune them, it'll just like go crazy and take one branch and just. So I don't really want I don't know. I
Yeah,
could have
that's
it
true.
crazy, but I should look
Mhm.
into it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was an evergreen. So maybe if it was another type of plant, would be able to do some propagation there. So now that thank you for sharing about your classes and how both, they were able to help you out. Maybe if you would be able to tell us, how, your connection to the NACC, and how you were able to utilize the center, both in your undergraduate and graduate years.
Yep. So to be quite honest, I don't think I really even knew the NAECC existed in my undergraduate career. I didn't frequent at that time when it was on here off of Harrison Street on the south side of campus. It wasn't one of the places I really frequented. And then during vet school, one of my best friends who is of Native descent, I think she was a student worker at the center, Liz Hanson. Well, who was Liz Hanson, now Liz Warren. Um, she took me there, or started taking me there. The center used to be only a block away from the vet school, and vet school, depending on if it's just mostly all the time, but especially if we had an impending test or something, it can be a very high tension, high stress place. And um, Liz took me to the center one day, and then I think we probably almost went there every day for lunch. It was kind of, to me, the center was a place where I could get away from vet school, be with people that I knew, and I'm not of Native descent, and it was, I mean, it was still a very welcoming place for me. And the stress that was in the vet school was not at the center. So for me, the center started out as a place to just go to get away from vet school. And then it was a great place that we went to study. I remember, I think we started craft circles. I'm not sure if you guys are still doing those, but those are really fun. And then we used to have, like, I forget the name of them, but when we used to have like the cooking stuff, I remember you would make fry bread sometimes. I don't know. It just came to be. It started out as a place for me that I could go to get away from the stress of vet school and not even think about it, at least if only for an hour over lunch. And then it became that plus just a place to go that were people that I might not ever meet outside of the center, or people that became friends that I'm still in touch with today, some of them. So it was, for me, it was a good place that I had no idea probably even existed in undergrad, but was kind of the staple during vet school just because of what it was and where it was.
Yeah, I think location really helped benefit you in that context as where we were located. But I do have to credit you and Liz for starting our craft circles, because I think you all came together and you wanted to learn how to crochet. I think that's what it was. And then Deb brought in her crochet.
And you know what?
And
yarn. You know what I just got out today? My crochet hook.
We'll have to share that with Deb. But yeah, because I remember you guys were crocheting, and after she taught you how to crochet, you kind of said, okay, now what's next? And yeah, so I think that's kind of really helped. And we realized that those impromptu craft circles or anything of that nature really help to serve as a kind of self-help or a de-stressor for many of our students. And we have our craft circles have evolved on and off. In the fall, we will revive it again in the spring, but in the fall, we usually have our visiting artists that they'll come and they'll share different craft techniques with us. And so we kind of, that's a more formal program that is led by, an artist. But in the spring, we host a craft circle. We've done painting, we've done plant therapy, we've painted wine bottles, we've done some making some ceramics and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's been beneficial. So again, I do thank you and Liz for helping get that whole initiative started, and we continue to move forward with those type of initiatives. And again, that shows how students, we really are student-centered, student-focused, and we want students to know that when they come to the center, they can use it as a way to decompress and not talk about classes, but really find other ways to help them de-stress from classes.
Do you still do the therapy dogs?
Yes, we do, but let's see, we had to stop, obviously due to COVID, but we have, we still do the therapy dogs, and actually the other centers have caught on to our trick too. So we've been able to, share that with other centers. When we have our therapy dog session, that's usually during our Dead Week activities. So now what we started with you all, when we did craft circles, that kind of evolved, and we folded that to Dead Week activities. So it usually takes place the last week of classes during finals. So we'll have therapy dogs coming to visit us. We'll do some type of craft circle. We'll do an elf movie marathon. So there's a number of different things we have to celebrate.
That was another one of my fun things at the center was Elf. I love the movie Elf. And there was just something about like watching it during Dead Week at the center. Liz and I were usually in our sweatpants or PJ pants, and we had our notes open, but we were more or less watching the movie and not studying.
Yep, exactly. And I think that maybe that helped prepare you for your study, your exams as well. And there was another point I was going to make about the classes. They've been continuing to evolve and everything. But yeah, so I think that's been really good. And so with that, given that you were able to utilize the center, and now that you are fast forward to 2021, you are currently in your position there in Iowa. So maybe if you could share what you're doing now and how you've been able to use your Purdue degree to get into your current position.
Yep. So I graduated vet school in 2015. And my passion is pigs.
Mhm,
Some people laugh at that, but that's okay, to each their own.
mhm,
So I moved out here to Iowa. My family's all still back in Indiana, most of them. And I moved out here to Iowa when I graduated I was a head veterinarian of a swine genetics company. And I loved that job. I basically got to play with pigs for 3 or 4 days out of the week and do the necessary paperwork the rest.
mhm,
Um, but I did that job until almost 2 years ago, until November 2019. And then I did travel a lot with that job, was overnight, gone from home 3 to 4 nights a week. Um, and in the meantime, between the 2015 and 2019, I met my now husband out here, and we got married 3 years ago. Um, so I was just kind of ready for a switch. The travel was getting to be a bit much. We wanted to start a family. So in 2019, November of 2019, I took a position with the Iowa Department of Agriculture. So I'm now a central district veterinarian. So um, basically I'm a regulatory vet and I cover the central to north central portion of the state of Iowa. So anything that's regulatory, whether it's health papers or program diseases that affect livestock. We have some diseases that we monitor for small animals as well. Anything that could, as one of my USDA counterparts likes to put it, anything that would affect animal agriculture on a federal level, we kind of monitor it or have a program for it. So it's a different job, regulatory medicine, but it's been a way to gain more work-life balance as a veterinarian, but still kind of use the brains and the power that I learned in vet school as well. And with that job, I do a little bit of time teaching at Iowa State's vet school. So I think the real world, even though I didn't have very much of it yet, the real world practice experience is good to have as a kind of a teacher professor at the vet school, because students really want to know what's it really going to be like in the real world. For 4 years that you're confined to the walls of a vet school, and they teach you all the medical jargon, and then when they release you and give you your DVM, you have to learn to use words that non-veterinarians understand, and you have to connect with your clients on a personal level as well. So I think that, Purdue has a great vet school. I value my education 100%, and my undergraduate education prepared me for that, to obtain that degree. But just to all the people that I met in college and in vet school, and the personal skills that you develop as you meet people from all walks of life, and all experiences, they give you more of a perspective of I guess life outside of college or life outside of school. So that's kind of like, on a technical level, that's what I do, but it just, yeah, it's always, no matter what you're doing, all the people that you meet that can help you to better yourself.
Well, that sounds exciting. And so you don't do as much traveling as you used to before, and so, but you also said you had a courtesy appointment. So you also teach students there at the university?
Yep. Yeah, I teach. So basically, I teach a lecture on Thursday mornings to a couple rotations, to basically how to write health papers, what to do and what not to do.
Uh-huh.
And then I take students every other week. I take them to the ISU dairy, and I teach them how to TB test, do a TB test in a cow, and working on some stuff for foreign animal disease investigations. And anytime I have field work, I take them with me in my truck, or I can take them with me. So it's very much Working for the government as a veterinarian, we are very much a jack of all trades, master of none. So I
Mhm.
can be, I love my pigs, but I might be bleeding some horses for checking for disease status, and then
Mhm.
tomorrow I might be inspecting some farmed white-tailed deer. And then, if it's a Thursday, I'm probably in the classroom,
Mhm.
and but then we have, the paperwork that comes along with that too. So it's in what am I trying to say? Every day is different. No day is
Uh-huh.
the same. So the variety is super nice. I don't get in a ton of pig barns, which I miss. But that also gives my husband and I raise a few cattle too, so that satisfies a little bit of an itch too.
Do you have
So
any pigs at home?
we did actually through COVID, but we don't currently. We just don't have the setup. We had 4 pigs during COVID, and we have a barn that's probably over 100 years old. And I
Mhm.
forgot how truly messy and destructive they are when they're not on concrete. So
Mhm.
it was fun, but until we get better facilities, probably no more pigs for a while.
Gotcha.
So
And I was just thinking, as you're talking about, how you're teaching and working with students, would you have ever imagined it while you were in vet school that you would be a teacher? And then with that, are you able to use some of those skill set, thinking back to your DVM days when you were a student, and how you're able to use that as you're teaching your students?
so no, I never saw myself teaching, let alone in regulatory medicine.
Mhm.
So I'm a perfect poster child for never say never.
Mhm.
Uh, any students, whether you're undergrad, graduate, you don't know where you want to go yet, keep your options open, because I never would have, one, thought I would be in Iowa, let alone for almost 7 years. And
Uh-huh.
then 2, working for the government and teaching other soon to be veterinarians.
Uh-huh.
But the last aspect is also kind of cool, because I kind of just, however so small, I kind of molding the next generation of veterinarians. So that part's cool.
Mhm.
Um, I forgot the second part to your question.
Um, Seeing yourself as a DVM student, and then how you're able to use some of those as you're teaching the students.
Oh, yeah. So um, I feel like that is an advantage and a disadvantage sometimes. So because I was never a student at Iowa State, I don't exactly know 100% what those students go through, or they might mention another professor or teacher, and I don't really know who they're talking about. So sometimes I feel that can be, I don't know, just I should maybe assign to me that I should make more connections there, but also the good part about that is that I know what things that we used to do at Purdue and what we had at our disposal to help us learn. And that's kind of how this when I teach students how to TB test for tuberculosis, I feel like at Purdue, at least the vet school at Purdue, we got a pretty good training on that and education on that. And when I came to Iowa State almost 2 years ago, they virtually learned about it in a textbook in one class, and that was it. So I feel like that having my position at the vet school at Iowa State with a regulatory focus is, it gives me, I know what I learned at Purdue, and I can use that to kind of model what I can further adapt the learning opportunities at Iowa State that they may not get what I got going through vet school, because it's just a different school. So
Hold on. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I had myself on mute. I'm just talking away. But so as we're coming to a close, one of the last questions I'll share with you is just if you could help us maybe share some advice as to any student that's looking to go into vet school, or maybe even what type of advice would you give to a younger you as you're getting ready to start vet school?
I gave one of my best advice that I always give to other students is never say never, because if you keep your options open, the sky is the limit, especially as a young student or a young veterinarian or somebody who's just going into either undergraduate or graduate studies. There are so many opportunities at Purdue, and even beyond, the degree, that if you keep your options open, they sometimes opportunities will just find you. And the other part, this would be for either like young doctors or even new students, whether undergraduate or graduate. I know it can be stressful to, sometimes undergraduate is not like high school, and graduate studies are not always like undergraduate studies, but I know sometimes you can feel strapped for time and you have so much to do and so much studying to do, but always take a little bit of time for yourself, because it really does the brain and the body a mountain of good. That's kind of what the center was to me. Was, yes, it was a place I could go to study, but all the extracurriculars that were provided through the center, that was kind of sometimes my way of de-stressing or not thinking about the things I had to do for vet school. But just find a hobby, something you like to do, treat yourself, to a den pop or a manicure or whatever floats your boat. But do something for yourself.
Okay, great. I think that's good advice to end on. So with that, I appreciate you joining us for this Throwback Thursday chat. And just everybody knows that we're pre-recording this, so it'll actually air this coming Thursday on the, what is it? The
20th?
21st of October, and we'll post it to our YouTube page, and then Deb will then share it through all our social media sites. So you'll be able to share it within your social media contacts as well. So thanks again, Chelsea. It's wonderful seeing you, and I'm so happy and proud of all that you've accomplished. And we had a short chat before talking about your son growing up and the challenges of being a mom and working. So I think you're doing a really good job, and I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon. If you ever come back to Purdue, you're welcome to come and visit us at our center. And yeah, so all the best to you. And with that, I would like to just say thanks again for joining us for this segment of our NAECC Throwback Thursday chat. We have a couple more interviews coming up, and I'm sorry I don't remember who the next person is that we're interviewing, but we'll be advertising on social media and through our different through our newsletter as well. If you'd like to learn more about the NAECC, visit us at our website, www.purdue.edu/NAECC, or else just follow us on social media. Thank you again, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the show right now.